Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Miles, host of the SOS ShOUT Show. Hope you're having a great Sunday. It's pretty much a momentous Sunday here in the United States as we have the National Football League has kicked off its season for 2021. This has been, of course, a very strange last 2 years with COVID and having to rearrange and things like that. But I found that looking throughout history, one of the benchmarks of American activity, American social placement, advancement, and acknowledgement is largely based around American sports. Now, I said to myself, is it American sports or is it sports in general? And as I looked at the larger scope, and I said it has so much to do with sports in general, going back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, probably thousands of years. This idea of physical imposition of will, physical excellence, uh, giving you all the metaphors that you have teamwork, cooperation, striving, defeat, victory, all these type of things. And I said, man, why does sports matter so much in society? Now, if you look behind me, I have pretty much all of the teams in the National Football League. And there's two things in common in the National Football League. One, most of the players are, of course, black. And most of the owners, with the exception of the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who's a Muslim, are white. Now, it's not even to make it a racial thing because I would have to focus specifically on football, which is, of course, one of the most violent sports in the world, underwritten by the fact that if you're not a star, you're not going to have a guaranteed contract. In case you want to know what the NFL means, NFL, amongst people in the league, NFL means not for long. The life expectancy of a football player in the NFL is between 3 years. Let me put it in perspective for you. If you want to get tuition reimbursement as being a part of the NFL, you have to play at least five. Now, these things, we can throw them out and we can say, hey, we understand. But it's not all bad with sports. I fashioned myself an athlete when I was younger. I played all the fall sports and I played the spring sports. I played soccer in the fall. I played tennis in the spring. And back then, you play all year round neighborhood sports, which was basketball, football, baseball, things like that. Well, these days, those kind of things have gone away. You still get basketball, but now you don't get sandlot football like you used to. Any idea of sports has become so much of a business machine. We have a funnel system, we have a feeder system that makes sure with professional leagues and junior leagues and semi-professional leagues and the NBA, we have G leagues. It is geared to make sure that the creme de la creme go to the top. So, what are the things that are missing here? We're talking about sports being used as a tool, sports being used as a metaphor. Many of us African Americans, when we were young, what did we want to be? We didn't necessarily want to be doctors and lawyers first and foremost. That might have been on the list, but some of us want to be professional basketball players, professional football players, professional baseball players. And there's nothing wrong with that. It really speaks to the fact that sports going into the late 1800s and into the 1900s was a social mover, brothers and sisters. The idea that we can have a Jackie Robinson, a Jesse Owens, who spoke to the fact not only of Black excellence in sport, but also Black excellence, and here is the big one, Black excellence in surviving, evolving, proving people wrong. Now, I believe, brothers and sisters, that sports does have a place. One of the things that was definitely affected by COVID was the fact that you have kids that couldn't play sports. Now, the danger is we sometimes overlook it. I myself will give you to full transparency. I used to be a consultant with the NFL. My specialty was transition services because there was a large issue with kids who would come into the National Football League and have issues when they left the National Football League. Because unlike prison, when you leave the NFL, you don't know when you're going to be out. You don't know when an injury is going to be 6 months. You don't know when an injury. You don't know when an injury is going to be the rest of your life. But the idea, the mentality is that they played for it. Now, myself as a transition consultant, I did address a lot of things about how people are led astray, how people are giving narratives, but basic brothers and sisters that doesn't particularly align with their best interests. I advocated for sports, particularly NFL, to be a pro-intellectual, a learning organization, if you will. Be pro-intellectual. Teach these gentlemen about the business of football, the business about their health, and have football as well as education about your sport be a part of lifestyle, not something that you do in a crisis. Now, we had our issues, myself with the NFL. There was a Colin Kaepernick issue. There was social justice issues, and I did wind up on the side of the players for simple things that these players present so much other than a touchdown or a basket or a home run or a goal. It was the fact, brothers and sisters, that they were the ones that connected to the people. So we're going to get into why I think sports matters. I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm going to give a shout out to Sister Tana. She's running a little late today. She might make it, she might not. I am not pressuring Sister Satana. She is a tireless soldier for the SOS. In fact, Sister Satana, if you can hear this, take a day off. You deserve it. So we'll be right back with the shout out show, brothers and sisters. We're talking about why professional sports matters in society. SOS, Preacher Moss.
I called you because I just don't know what else to do.
We are actually struggling financially.
Help with utilities. I heard about Olive Branch from my friend.
I can't make money.
Please help.
We just need help.
Imagine if there wasn't an olive branch. All right, brothers and sisters, I want to give a shout out to Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. Brothers and sisters, check them out on their website, Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. They're doing some yeoman's work trying to help with the resettlement of Afghan refugees coming into the state of Texas. So we want to make sure that we're giving Olive Branch some love, as well as Islamic Relief and the other places, other organizations, other charitable organizations that are trying to make sure that the transition is better. Of course, coming from Afghanistan, there is the piece that they are, most of them are Muslims, so we're trying to make sure that we are trying to do our fiduciary responsibilities as believers to make sure that they have a smooth transition. Okay, brothers and sisters. I talk about sports, but sports is a metaphor. One of my biggest issues about sports is that in our own communities, African American communities, Latino communities, it was always spun as a way for us to get to another level. It was the primary feeder of social mobility, that you have this pocket of money that someone is giving you, not understanding that pocket of money, if someone gave you $100,000, could you make it last for the next 30, 40, 50 years? And it was the idea of the romanticism of sports pulling us out of these places. And we live vicariously through some of our sports heroes. When Hank Aaron hit the home run to break Babe Ruth's records, I felt like I hit it. When I watched Tiger Woods beat people, I felt like Tiger was winning for me. When the Boston Celtics played the Lakers, despite the fact that the Celtics had the first black coach in the NBA, I went for the Lakers. I didn't like the Celtics. You see the emotions that it brings out. You see the energy, the fervor that comes out. And I am not alone. That's what I want to say. I am not alone. I remember Doug Williams in the Super Bowl coming in and winning the Super Bowl in the quarter, throwing a plethora of touchdowns. And we celebrated. This is when the Washington football team was good. No, I'm just kidding. This is when the Washington football team was the Washington Redskins. And of course, this is before political correctness. But can you imagine a city that's predominantly black celebrating a black quarterback in an era where it never had a black quarterback lead and win an NFL championship. So there are a lot of things that we're talking about right here. And I want to put it out because, I was never a big baseball player, but I can celebrate and look at the people in baseball, the Curt Floods, people who allowed for free agency. A man like Curt Flood stood up and said to white owners that, you treat us like we're on a plantation. We are baseball players. And sadly, Curt Flood, he died a broken man. He died a broken man, died an alcoholic, but his standing up at that point in time allowed for the free agency and so much of the money that you see now. The Spencer Haywards in the NBA that allowed for players not to have to go to college, but could go directly from high school to the pros. LeBron James, Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant, they should know that man's name. And you know my love of Negro baseball. Now, here's the funny thing about me telling on myself. I love the Negro Baseball League, but I don't really follow Major League Baseball because the Negro Baseball League reminds me of something. Inherently, it builds in me this whole idea about do for self. My cousin Todd Umar sent me something when I asked him a question years ago. I said, how do you get to 100? Add up 100. He said 50 plus 50 is 100. I said, yeah. But if you go 256 minus 156, that equals 102. 99 plus 1 equals 100. And that's been the scope of sports so much, is that talent takes us to a place, brothers and sisters. It opens up the door and it allows for the imagination of other folks. Many people are not Michael Jordan fans. I like Michael Jordan, and this is why. Because Michael Jordan played the game. He played a game and he got to a level where he said, you know what? I don't own the game. And to own the game, I have to own the team. And in owning the team, the Charlotte Bobcats, though they don't win a whole lot and haven't been in the playoffs, it was the idea that this man said, wait a minute, I want to be something akin to what Reginald Lewis was on Wall Street, and said, I want to be in the big game, not just playing the game. And in that space, brothers and sisters, it sparked young people like myself to think differently about the game. I'm not in professional sports, but I have a sports mentality when it comes to entertainment. I have a sports mentality when it comes to education. One of my big mentors, Brother Reginald Kitchen, may Allah be pleased with him, we never really talked basketball in all the years we talked about what basketball could do for us and could do for the community. We could put kids in college. We could get kids in good high schools. I played tennis. I said we could take tennis and let it be. If you can't get to college, the fact that you can learn a new skill can give you self-esteem. And we put it all in these things, these different boxes, and we appeal to people. And we watch people grow. So I said, why does sports matter? I know I'm not alone. Why does sports matter? Professional sports matters because, sadly, those are some of the highest paid jobs that are presented to us. But I want to throw this caveat out. It's a high paid job that's presented to us, but like professional football, let's be honest, it's high risk. Basketball, not as high risk. Ironically, the sports that pay the most or pay the best, baseball. Why baseball? Well, baseball has guaranteed contracts. Baseball has leagues where you can, of course, be. Football, you're either on a team or you're not. There's not a national football farm team. You see what I'm saying? Baseball has farm teams. You can play double A, single A, triple A. You can get into the. This is how beautiful baseball is, brothers and sisters. If you come into the baseball, if your foot touches a professional baseball field, do you know you get a pension for the rest of your life? That's $90,000. $90,000. Football, we're still trying to figure out concussion protocols. But my point also, for us, the fans, if you will, were able to live vicariously through the idea that winning makes everything okay. Let me say that again. Winning makes everything okay. Now, outside of sports, I think the term would be money makes everything okay. But just like you can't have all the money you want, you can't play all the sports. It's always going to be competition. And sports matters in society, in my regard. It's because when sports is put out, it allows us, good or bad, to escape where we are. So when we look at the football player extend his hand and catch the ball, we like to think that we're either the person that caught the ball or the person that threw it. Baseball hitting a home run, basketball hitting the winning shot, tennis hitting a ground stroke that goes down the line. All of these things, brothers and sisters, and you sit and you wonder, why are they so important? You know, I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan. He won 5 championships. The Lakers won 5 championships. The Boston Celtics with Bill Russell, who just got his induction as a coach, they won, I don't know, 11 championships. But Bill Russell said, didn't stop racism. Kobe Bryant said, doesn't stop hunger. You see what I'm saying, brothers and sisters? And I think sometimes we are guilty because we put these people on pedestals, these athletes on pedestals, not for their mind per se, but for their athletic ability, to their dedication to athletic ability and feats of strength or speed or however you want it to be. And we celebrate that, not understanding that that level of existence is not a normal existence. I almost said to a young man who was 6'8", he said, what do I do when I get out of college? I said, well, I hope you go pro. I said, because ain't nobody hiring 6'8" people at the car wash. Dedicate yourself, son. But I also look at it like this. It was the alternative to rap music, brothers and sisters. There's no more Motown. There's no more R&B. You know, we developed polar opposites. And years ago, the metaphor used to be what? For young black kids, you're either going to play sports, you go to the league, you're going to sell drugs, or you're going to wind up in prison. A fourth one was dead. And I'm like, why? How did you even fit sports in there? But think about this, brothers and sisters. Yesterday was 9/11. It was 9/11. Do you know what symbolized normalcy back in 9/11 after the attacks on the World Trade Center? That the Yankees played baseball. And that let people think we're back on track. And it sounds ridiculous, but playing fall sports is a big thing. When we had COVID last year, a lot of people didn't play sports. For the first time in my existence, there was no NCAA tournament. There were no amateur sports anywhere. And I'll speak to my own self. I literally lost pace. I lost track of time because these things have been so ingrained in my own persona. I knew when baseball season started. I knew when preseason started for football. I knew when basketball started. And you think about it, it's like, what kind of world am I allowing myself to live in when I'm putting out all these points of emphasis that have nothing to do with my well-being? It doesn't help me be a better brother, a better brother, uncle, father, grandfather. It doesn't help me. It doesn't lean myself into what we need as a society. So listen, I've been on a ramble. I got to introduce some of my brothers and sisters who are in the comment section. I like to call them the shout out shows. Let me get my folks up in here. All right, we got Sister Ree. Sister Ree is out there selling today, brothers and sisters. Y'all know she's out there 11-6 at the international market. I got my jerk chicken, rice, and potato salad. Let me say it, jerk chicken, rice, potato salad. Got 2 pieces of cake. Rhea ain't give him a drink, but it's okay. And I got some collard greens because she had cabbage. I was like, no, I ain't eating no cabbage. You can keep that cabbage. Rhea, we hope you're doing well and selling stuff out there. We got Miss Mama Moss saying hello, family. She had a lovely visit with her sister over in Northwest Washington. The Black Golden Girls got together and shut it down. Shout out to my little brother JT. What's going on, Op? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I appreciate it. JT knows exactly what we're talking about. You know, when I lived and taught in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, there's no sports, brothers and sisters. The Milwaukee Bucks won a championship, but they are not the Green Bay Packers. Because the Green Bay Packers won a Super Bowl, it'll be like the Milwaukee Bucks didn't do anything. Shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks. But you can see this pretty core that happened just around the Milwaukee Bucks making the playoffs, getting to the finals, and finally winning the championship. They had oogles of people out there. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Eric Carter, how you doing? Good to see you on the show. What you think about this sports thing, man? You know, what do you think about the sports thing? I'm not hard on the situation, but I am observant, man. Because it's a dark side to sports too. It's a very dark side to sports too. Everybody knows what that dark side is. I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but you know, I'm just going to put it out. And we got my sister. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sister Tough, all the way out in Seattle, Washington. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence on the show. I hope you are doing well. What do you think about our topic today? Why sports matters. Some people say, "Why did you do that topic?" I'm like, I did that topic. All right, let me make sure I get everybody in. Okay, got Sister Naima Griffin. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me give you the proper response. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I know Altaf is all in. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I know you're a Blue Jays fan, Argonauts fan, Raptors fan. I'm gonna tell y'all something. Toronto has one of the best sports fan bases in the world. I'm telling y'all that. And think about it. All of Canada has one basketball team. All of Canada has one. They have two baseball teams. They have one basketball team. And when they won the championship, it was off the hook up there. My mom says for many sports, it's a way out, or they think so. Yeah. When I was young, I used to think when I was shooting shots, I thought I was I wasn't Magic Johnson, but I thought it was Kevin Porter, who played for the Washington Bullets. I thought I was Phil Chenier with the wet jump shot. Black Jesus. I thought I was them. Then I stopped growing, and I was like, I'm not going to make it to the league. Sister Nyman says, it shows our children that all you need is brute strength or talent and not necessarily education to make a substantial amount of money. The money is short. Sister Nyman is right. The money is short. Most of the people don't make the big money. When you look at, per se, a football team, and you look at the salaries for a football team, the quarterback it makes the most money. So it's maybe about, out of the team, it's maybe about 7% that make the majority of the money, and everybody else is playing on small or in many cases, like I said, unguaranteed contracts. And the contracts aren't guaranteed. You can be playing on a Sunday and get released on a Monday. There's nothing you can do about it. I've seen it happen all the time. You are right. That's why I advocate for kids that go to college. Understand when you are filling out your letter of intent, you are signing a contract. And what you need to do is make sure that your interests are represented in the contract. Per se, if you're playing or not playing, a lot of people don't know. When you're not playing, your contract at the end of a season is negotiable. A coach may need that scholarship to bring in a player he wants, as opposed to keep a player on the team he's not using, and you wind up losing your scholarship. They don't talk about that a lot. But I'm going to put it out there because I think we need to have it out. Sister Tough says, I raced cross country skiing in my formative years. My mom wanted me to go to finishing school, and she made me quit skiing. I did not have to go to that school, though I was asked to race for the school district in high school, though I was not in shape for racing cross country. Okay. Lots and lots of running and training cross country did not become popular in the US until about a decade ago. Yeah. It was not popular in the United States. What's interesting is that the international approach to marathon running, running as a whole, was interesting because it did surpass the United States in a lot of regards. Sister Tough, there's an interesting thing about cross country skiing. I appreciate that comment. She said it taught me discipline though. And we got my brother Elijah, fight the power word. Why look at my salon for culture? So people live vicariously through these athletes and others that are able to acquire resources that we dream of accomplishing. This is true. This is true. But I also look at sports this way, because there is a good side of sports at a young level, And what you're having now is a lot of parents who will let their kids play younger sports, but they won't let them play high school. Because this has been a situation that the NFL, because it's the only game in town, it is the legitimate monopoly, brothers and sisters. But the NFL has got to the point whereby it's such a large industry, and I joke about this when I talk to people about consulting for the NFL. They are so large that they can afford to make multi-million-dollar mistakes. They are so large, they can absorb the cost of a 10 to 15, $20 million mistake, an experiment that went wrong. They hire people to do things for them that don't do them correct. And they stockpile all the mistakes. But in the end, why are they effective? I'm going to tell you why they're effective. Because every contract that the NFL signed is guaranteed. So when we had football last year, if they didn't put a game on, it didn't matter. The contracts were guaranteed. The reason they tried to put football on television is because the sponsorships were not necessarily guaranteed. And they knew that empty stadiums presented a problem. Professional sports is, my mom and I used to go to watch the Baltimore Ravens. Okay? We used to go watch the Baltimore Ravens. We had season tickets. And what I always remember when we go see the games, outside of watching Ray Lewis decapitate people, was the fact that this was, in and of itself, in the middle of Baltimore, right on the harbor, this was a very, very sophisticated economy. Sports matters to local economy. Houston has several teams. Dallas has several teams. Washington has several teams. New York has several teams. Philly has several teams. I can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Because sports, brothers and sisters, are one of the few public entities that are corporatocracies, that you have access to a point that you can literally affect their bottom line. Now, in the NFL, there's only one team that's publicly owned. Of course, that's the Green Bay Packers. Everyone else is a system of billionaires. And these, I don't want to say they're toys, if you will. In the NBA, they have owners who own these players. But it is the fact that they do hold sway over local economy. Now, when I watch teams, brothers and sisters, I do like to do a little due diligence about how much money do they generate for the owner? How much money do they generate for the community? Well, you guys know they generate a lot of money for the owner, not a whole lot for the community. It's almost like the devil. The devil promises you everything and gives you nothing. That's pretty much every NFL team. That's pretty much any NBA team. Even the programs they come up with, social justice programs, these are alliterative programs. These are not things that are meant to be transformative, brothers and sisters. It's meant to be functional so that players get the things off their mind and feel good about the things on their mind and continue generating that product. So Elijah's question is, what would all those fanatics do with their time and energy if there were no sports? I will tell you, they would have an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. I'm not even joking. They would have an insurrection. What sports were going on at the time of the insurrection? Like, you had a little bit of football going on, a little bit of basketball. It wasn't a full thing because everybody was doing COVID. You had pent-up feelings all the way from last year. Sports got started late last year. And so it didn't have the same gravitas. Opening of stadiums didn't happen. People were not following. They had limited numbers of people. The Super Bowl only had, what, about 20,000 people socially distanced? It was a different thing. And we talk about aspects of how people get rid of aggression, how people identify themselves. Sports, sports has a lot of psychological overlay on American society. It has a lot of psychological overlay on society. You would be surprised the connection between sports and politics, brothers and sisters. You would literally be surprised about the connection of sports and politics because it permeates everything. Now, if you're saying sports, I'm saying sports as a corporatocracy or a corporation, but it still is the same entity. It still operates as a real person. I think that's why people identify with sports so much. If you ever get a chance, there's a movie called The Corporation. It's a documentary. Read it. If you read the entity, I mean, I have a LLC, whatever, but the corporation is set up to operate like a person, actually. So your business is framed to operate as a person. The NFL has mastered that algorithm because they put it at that sports comes into your home. It comes into your home. Basketball comes into your home. Hockey, baseball comes into your home. College sports come into your home. We are deluged by the whole idea of competition. But here's the thing. It's competition that we willingly invite into our homes. And you can't escape it. Even if you don't like sports, you're affected by sports. Even if you say, I'm not going to watch the TV, the economy of sports is all around us. I asked a question, why does sports matter to society? Because sports has essentially lodged itself over the years around important ideas, important statutes that happen in our lives, important milestones. So when you think about baseball, you think of Jackie Robinson, right? So when you think of interracial relationships that don't work, you think of OJ. We think of Babe Ruth, we think of Hank Aaron breaking a record, brothers and sisters. We think of Black ownership in the space of what? White ownership. And it matters, brothers and sisters, because sports has figured out a way to get into our hearts and minds and psyche, and in a small way, a very, very small way, it's kind of turned the nodules, if you will, on cognitive surplus, that we give ourselves over to this thing, that little bit of free time, as as Elijah was saying, that little bit of free time. What would you do with that if you didn't have that sports? We would give it to another sport. We would probably give it to entertainment. If you didn't have sports, you give it to entertainment. Hey, sports and entertainment, sports are basically entertainment. It is the willingness to turn over cognitive surplus and say, here, dictate to me what you want to dictate to me without me getting any benefit out of it. So I'm just throwing that out there. So look, I'm already over time. So I want to give a shout out before we go. We have some people that are dealing with some health issues. Sister Nancy Mustafa, of course, Sister Miss Eleanor, Sister Lorraine, Brother Kendrick, they're all on the men, alhamdulillah. And if you have anybody, brothers and sisters, that are sick or shut in, this vehicle is a community vehicle. You can tell me, I'll put them up. That's my job, to make a prayer for them, make dua for them, because, we all want to have healthy lives. Now, we ain't going to live forever, but there is something about living a healthy life, a pain-free life, or a life that doesn't have as much pain. Or if the day is 8 hours, if you could just have 6 good hours out of the 8 hours, the other 2 might be rough, because we live for that. We live for a balance that is a positive balance, if you will. That's number one. Got an announcement to make. Sister Satana is not here. After much debate regarding the shout out show, we're going to take a break, a small hiatus, and we're going to be back. One of the reasons we're going to take a small hiatus is we're 500 episodes plus. This is episode number 506. And what I need to do is change some things. I'm not going away. I just want to upgrade. We're going to have a date for when we're going to take our hiatus. I have equipment that I bought for my studio. I have things I want to do to make this a little bit more interactive. I've been training people to work the back end. Overall, brothers and sisters, I'm very, very excited about the shout out show. I just want to make it better. To do that, I have to do things. And I'm going to tell you guys something. I am extremely blessed that you come on the show. I can't tell you, literally, even as a comedian, that we come on the show for 500 plus episodes, and we, by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have people who are on the show waiting to put their comments out and things like that. We want to expand the show. I want it to be much more of a community show. I want to do more things. We're going to revamp our format, having more guests, if you will. We have great guests. Having more guests, having more themes. I want to have a little bit more of a community base so we can talk about things more in the community and we can develop our ideas. So how are we going to do that? When we're going to do that, I'm going to take that little break. It's only going to be probably about a week and a half, and we'll be back on. You know, I deserve a vacation too. I'm joking. I'm just really excited about the show. And sometimes as a creative, you have to sit back. I have to look at things that we've done. In the interstitial, we'll be running some of our best of the shout out show episodes, the things we've already done. And, you know, I mean, we've had some great shows. We're going to run the best of the shout out show while we start doing things. Because you guys know I'm a writer. The best thing about this show, and I thank you guys, is that every day I have to get up and write. Every day I have to come up with a concept. So let me not give credit to myself. Let me give credit to you. Let me give credit to my Lord that for 500 plus episodes, we came up with a new concept. I mean, let me put it in perspective for you. If this were regular TV and we went once a week, if we were a sitcom, if you will, think about this. 5 years of shows in television will come to 100. That's what it is. If you did 20 shows a season for 5 years, you'd be syndicated. That would be 100 shows. We did 500, which is amazing. We did 500 consecutively. Didn't miss a day. And I thank my Lord, and of course, you know, all praise due to Allah that just being healthy for 500 some shows. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. But also having willing partners, Sister Satana, a big part of that. You guys are a big part of that, making the shout out show what it is. So I feel a due responsibility for this to make the show better and be able to have a little bit, like I said, more interactive. Understand we might even be switching out of some of the technology we use to bring more people in, so it's a little bit more, you know, people can comment. I would love to have everybody in a box and be able to click and say, hey, Fight the Power, what do you think? Hey, Reed, what do you think? Mama Moss, what do you think? Sister Naomi, what do you think? And have everybody and be able to put them, you know, put comments up. We're trying to grow because I really see this as a blessing overall. So look, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have been amazing. Let me do some things that I normally do, brothers and sisters. First and foremost, we give a shout out to our sponsors. I want to give a shout out to BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. You can call 1-888-496-6845. Again, that's 1-888-496-6845. All right. If you're thinking about getting a quality Islamic graduate school education, got to check out Bayan Islamic Graduate School, brothers and sisters. I want to say a lot of things about Bayan. You can get your master's in, of course, Islamic studies, Islamic leadership, Islamic education, which I got. They have one of the premier programs. I'm telling you, if you want to be a chaplain, they have a Master's of Divinity with a certificate program, MDiv with a certificate program for Muslim chaplaincy. So check that out. make sure you go. So listen, you guys have been great. I'm gonna get out of here. Did I have a couple more comments? I'm gonna say, okay, well, we got some comments. Let me get out here, right? Sister Tough says, knowing when it is time to take a break and recognize the success you all had. Alhamdulillah. I appreciate that. Because I'm very hard on myself. And my main man, this is my man right here, Brother Elijah, Fight the Power Word. Alhamdulillah, you're doing an excellent job. Very inspiring, man. You guys keep me inspired. I have to say that. You guys keep me inspired. So I am inspired to, as Sister Tough says, you got to take a break. You got to get better. You got to reboot. I have other ideas. And I hope, and please bear with me as a creative. Every day I come on, I'm trying to talk to you, but I'm seeing 3 or 4 things I want to do. Sometimes you have to step back and not talk about it, but be about it. So being able to structure the show, so it's something that you guys are proud of. It's something that overall, I feel like I'm contributing to the overall community scope of arts and culture. That's all I really want to do. I want to make it better. When you see me, when we do the revamp, inshallah, you're going to love it. We're going to have different things. We're going to have different people. We're going to have guest hosts. I'm going to be using guest hosts on the show, inviting them on and having them speak, because just, as much as I love this, I love it for other people. Like I've said, Sister Satana needs her own show. So I want her to guest host and, bring people on. And we're looking at something, and I want to say this, and I won't hold anybody. We're really, really in the process of engaging something, and we really, really like. I like what we're doing. You're right, brother. I have enough. You're right. 500 episodes. I cannot be on, brothers and sisters, for 5 years, and nobody would know the difference. That's sad but true. Okay. So listen, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have been amazing. Take care of yourselves. Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow. We have a little bit more about when we're going to take a hiatus. Thank you. Shout out ShOUT family. Shout out ShOUT soldiers. I appreciate you. God bless. See you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Preacher Moss. Shout out ShOUT. We got one more. 3-pointer Hail Mary and ended about Sister Tough, you on a roll today. Okay, brothers and sisters, I will see you tomorrow, inshallah. Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.